Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Get more center.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And boy, have we got a show for you today. We've got the real Indiana Jones here. Joshua Shapiro is visiting us from near Atlanta today, and we're going to talk about the crystal skulls. And I've got his book here, and I'm going to hold it up. It's called Journey of the Crystal Skull Explorers. And man, this is a really phenomenal book. And I picked this up on Amazon, you guys. It's an awesome book. Hey, before I bring him on, I will always talk about humanity and the state of humanity. And we're recording this today, but today is election day. So tomorrow we'll know who our new president is. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. But the one thing that I do want to say is that what an amazing turnout to vote. I mean, whoever you vote for, it really, it's your preference. But I just want to commend everybody. I mean, I have never seen so many people who are just standing in line and casting their ballots and making this a really, really important election. And I just think it's so awesome that all of the Americans have come out and shown what democracy really is all about and shown the world that we do have a voice. And so this is so important. So important. And I'm just really excited that so many people chose to come out and vote for this election, regardless of what the turnout's going to be. So having said that, let's talk a little bit about Joshua Shapiro. Now, let me just say, I know you guys have probably seen the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls that came out in 2008. And that was an amazing film that George Lucas put together, and I've seen it. And, it's not too far off. So when we get into talking about the crystal skulls, you'll kind of see some of the similarities. But let me tell you a little bit about Joshua. He's been involved with the crystal skulls since 1983. That's when he saw one that was made out of amethyst, okay, in Northern California. The skull's name is Amy. He felt such a strong connection with this artifact that since that time he has devoted his life and resources to sharing the best information he can about these crystalline artifacts with other people all over the world and the future role that they will play to help our planet see world peace. And this is why it's so exciting that he's here today, okay, because we're going to talk about this. He has an opportunity to privately visit with a number of the well-known skulls throughout his travels, the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull of Love, E.T., the British Museum Crystal Skull, Synergy, and Amy, and among others. Hey, Joshua, welcome to High Road to Humanity.
Thank you, and pleasure to be here.
Really excited to have you. For the audience, for people who don't know your story, tell them how because you're a computer guy, right? You're like a computer programmer. Isn't that what your original job
when I
was?
went to the University of Illinois, that's what I studied. My father encouraged me because he knew that if you got involved with computers that you could easily find a job, which I did. But I'm glad that I went through that training, because to support my spiritual work, where would I be without being online, having our websites, using all this technology, especially right now. I haven't been able to do, live presentations, but I can through like Skype and Zoom and so on. So I'm very, very happy that I went that route, because it gave me the tools I need to help me to share the information in many different forms. So I've had to become a jack of all trades. So yes, I'm very versed with computers.
Wow, I think that's awesome. Well, how did you get into it? Tell the audience, how did you find your first crystal skull, and how did you related to it in such a way that it was a life-changing experience? Can you share that with us?
Yes, of course. So I'm going to come back to the book you showed, because there's a picture of that skull on the cover there. That's me, the amethyst crystal skull.
Okay.
So your audience has some, idea which one am I talking about, because there's so many.
Okay.
So back in 1983, I was traveling on faith. you know, I didn't have a lot of money, but I just felt called to go to California. And I had made a contact with a woman, Francois, who had a metaphysical bookstore across the street in San Jose from the Rosicrucian Park.
Okay.
And she was carrying my first book, Journeys of an Aquarian Age Networker, which is, when I was traveling on faith, I was collecting all the information and I had to share it. So I put it together in a book. I didn't worry about that I wasn't a polished writer. I just got the information out. I'm still
Right.
not a polished writer. And as I get older, I find when I re-edit my work, I forget words, I use the wrong tense,
Oh,
but the
that's
ideas
okay.
are always there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, I went to her store and said, do you need some more books? And I think she bought some, but then she took a picture of a me, which I just showed you. Didn't have that name at that time. It was just called the Amethyst Skull.
Okay.
And what happened to me is what I call my inner and outer earthquake experience. So as I'm looking at the picture, I'm vibrating fiercely inside and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is going on here? And then there was a real earthquake in Kalinga, California, which is about 150 miles south. And the picture is vibrating on the table with the earthquake. And then I don't recall exactly when, but before I left, the picture was talking with me. And so I'm going to explain this, even though your listeners might not totally understand it. From all the crystal skulls I've seen, the ones who are active and awakened, they have a living consciousness inside of them. And that living consciousness can communicate through any facsimile. So a photograph is just as good as if you're seeing the real thing. So through the picture I got, well, we're returning now to help humanity to create peace. And Joshua, now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So I call that my double earthquake experience and day one of being a crystal skull explorer,
I
which I
love it.
didn't know at the time. And I didn't know at the time, how involved I would be getting. But for those of your viewers who know about Aries, is once something interesting attracts you, you can't let it go. You got to pour your whole being and essence into it to try to discover, what is this? Why did I have this experience? And so on.
Right,
But of
right.
course, for most people who are on a spiritual path, when you have an experience of this nature, it's an awakening. And it was just saying, hey, you've worked with these things before in many other lifetimes, and you volunteered to come back to help people to understand them. So
Okay.
that was kind of what happened to me, just looking at the picture. And then a couple weeks later, a wealthy person was in town and they took the skull out. I was invited and I got to touch it. And I touched it with my right hand on the top of it. And I felt this energy go all the way up through my arm to my shoulder. And
Wow.
ever since then, in my mind's eye, I see the amethyst skull floating over my shoulder. But the really cool experience was in 2001 when I had become friends with one of the owners of that skull. We organized in San Jose, California, where they were and the skull was, this kind of like research with a meridian stress test machine. And we got to work with the energies of the skull. And during that time, I got to meditate with my personal skull, Portal de Luz, which is this one, of course,
Whoa.
also
Oh,
on the cover of the book I showed you.
it's
So the
beautiful.
reason I put Portal de Luz facing me is the ancient skull is speaking to a new skull, and
Okay.
they're both very important. So I got
Okay.
to actually meditate and hold those skulls and sleep next to them during
At the
that
same
research.
time. Yeah, I have lots of questions. Now, you're intuitive, or were you intuitive before, or is this something that you just happened when you got with the skull? How did that work out?
Um, Well, my strongest gifts is I sense energy.
So
Like if
you're
I wanted to cheat, even looking at your image through the video, I know who you are without us really having talked to each other. That's how I do my sessions. And
okay.
then I hear, so I guess that's intuition or inner voice. Those are my two strongest gifts.
Okay.
And they will verify for each other. So in other words, if I feel something good about a person, let's say, that they're good intention, I will hear some other information about it, either from their guides, from my guides, or
Okay.
I don't know where. And I think one time I did have Creator speak through me because I asked him a question, or her a question, or he, she a question.
Right.
Basically was, what's the point? What do you receive through us? We're insignificant compared to your, magnificence. And the answer came, your experiences. That's what I receive from
Right.
you.
Right.
And so basically, we're never right or wrong. We're just who we are. We do the best we can. And whether we have a good, what we think is a good or bad experience, it is the experience of being who we are. Because there is, I know there are parallel worlds and I know there are other us's, but there's no other us that's exactly like the one that's here
Right.
in this reality.
Right.
So this is
No,
creator's only opportunity to experience
to
earth. So all of
experience.
this
Right.
comes together for me. But yes, those are my main two gifts. And my vision is starting to open up, but I only see grayscale. And because I cheat and use the other gifts, I know what I'm kind of looking at.
Right. Well, you're an empath. You pick up the energy. That's what I am. I pick up energy. Yeah.
Right. But I don't seem to pick up the person's pain, you know,
Okay.
as
Okay.
much. I can kind of feel like what's happening with them, but I
Right.
don't pick up their pain.
Okay. Now I have a question. So when you have your skull sitting next to you, and I like that you talk about the old, the ancient, and the new, because the new skulls, you say, it can have the consciousness just like the older skulls. So
Oh, yeah.
at what point does that consciousness come into like a new skull? Like how does that occur?
Well, I can only relate it to the skull I showed you, Portal de Luz, because that's what I have experience with.
Right.
So this is what I think happens, is this consciousness knows who the crystal skull eventually will find.
Okay.
Because you have to remember there exists on the spiritual level where time and space doesn't work like it does down here.
Right.
And so with Portal de Luz, I think what happened is the consciousness that was going to come into him was hovering as the carver was actually making the skull, the modern carver in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know. I just think when the skull was presented to me, that's when the conscience said, "Okay, now it's time for me to start working through that crystal skull."
Right. That's
So
amazing.
and it probably, and I have a person that speaks to me over here. So I have a source of information coming from here and Portal de Luz is over here. So the two of them are talking to me while I'm talking to you.
That's
So
awesome.
the other thing that I think plays a role in this is before you are born, you
Yes.
already have made an agreement. Yes, when I get to be a certain age, this crystal skull will come and this consciousness that wants
Ah,
to work through the skull will come.
I
So
gotcha.
agreement is made beforehand,
Before
and
you
then it
get here.
just all magically happens.
Right.
You're in the right place to receive the skull, the consciousness comes
And it
through.
comes together. Hey, I'm going to stop
Right.
you. We got to go to commercial break. But you guys, I'm here today with Joshua Shapiro. This is his book. It's called Journeys of the Crystal Skulls. Now, if you guys are hearing me today, we have 3 different ebooks that we're going to offer. We're going to talk about that when we come back from commercial break. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. We're talking about crystal skulls here today, and Joshua has done a really nice thing for us. He is offering to give us 3 ebooks to all the listeners of High Road to Humanity. And I guess the easiest way to do this, if you guys just email me, nancyyearout@gmail.com, I will send these to you. Is that cool? Can we do it like that, Joshua? Would that
Yeah,
work?
I can send them to you and you can pass it on. The
Yeah.
only thing I request is the people who ask you, please send me their emails
Okay.
so I can stay in touch with them. Because obviously, if they want the books, they probably want to know more about the other things that we're doing. And I'm actually getting ready to do a massive mailing
Oh, well,
here in
shouldn't
the
they email
beginning of
you
the month.
directly? What email should they send it to, Joshua?
Oh,
Tell us.
okay, that would be easier. Yeah, crystalskullexplorers at
Okay.
gmail.com.
Okay.
Crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com.
And
So
I want to mention, not to interrupt you, but the books that you are offering, well, the reading material, and you sent it to me, and it's very fascinating. The first one is, Are We Living in a Computer Simulation? Which we're going to talk about today a little bit later in the show. And also, what will our future be like in 2037 to 2040, which I thought was really some amazing stuff. And then the other PDF that you can get will be the actual Journey of the Crystal Skulls book, that your update for 2018. Is that right?
no, we have a free Crystal Skull ebook, and then
Okay.
like the book you showed is the ones we sell. So this is
Okay.
the free free
The
Crystal
free
Skull
part
ebook,
of it.
only
Okay.
100 pages, you know.
Okay. Okay, cool. Listen, I want to ask you, you were talking before the break about talking to the skulls. You said one behind you and one in front of you. These messages that they bring to you, like for example, when I was reading your book and I was thinking about you, I was thinking, do they give you information like about the COVID and different things like that? And do you write it down and pass that on?
Um, I I don't think there's one answer for that question because everybody works with their inner gifts differently.
Okay.
So a lot of times, like people will say, "Oh, you're getting all your information from the crystal skulls." No, what Portal de Luz helps me with more than give me the information is he creates the energy field around me so that my gifts I'm more receptive and I can hear
Oh,
from the guides and the galactics and the interdimensional beings who are concerned with helping humanity to create a peaceful planet. So that's the way he works with me. Now, some other people, they may receive direct messages. Now, about the COVID, I understand it completely because there was this meeting that I attended. I had to be involved in a car accident where a vehicle struck me from behind and I was taken out of my body before I was hit because I don't remember any pain or anything. Just my
wow.
vision went from light to dark. And I went to a meeting. And in this meeting, and I can only remember little parts of it because they blanked my memory. There were many galactics there. It was kind of like what happened in the first Star Wars movies with Princess Amidala, and there were all these beings from all the worlds in the Confederacy, and
Right.
they were talking about the Earth, and they needed people who were in physical body, so we could give them feedback about different ideas of how they could help humanity to create peace. But they
Mhm.
wouldn't allow me to remember what I saw. I just remember before I was coming back, I was in front of like a door which black beyond it, and there was a masculine being by there, and I was begging, please, you got to let me remember this stuff. If I tell people, it will help so many people. No, you can't remember it, but we will make you a promise. As things start happening in your reality, you will know the truth about it. So I
Okay.
totally understand what's going on with the COVID. And I will tell you absolutely these numbers of people becoming sick, not that it doesn't exist, it does exist.
Right.
I know people who've become sick. I don't know anybody who's died, but the numbers they're giving is absolutely fantasy. There's
Right.
no way millions of people start catching this. It's
Right.
doing for control and for fear. I knew this back in February. And
Right.
the other thing is, I saw the video from China where the people were getting sick and it was very virile then, but it mutated and it's not happening now. So when they're locking down countries and things, this is this is for control. So
That's all it
people
is. Yeah.
who are spiritual, you must use discernment, listen to your guidance, do not come from fear and panic, and just project this future that my future self is saying, from
Right.
the ebook or what I saw at this meeting. We
Right.
will have paradise by 2037 to 2040.
Right.
I
I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, intuitively, I'm going to just say that I feel the same way as you do intuitively, that the masks are not healthy. They're not good. It is a form of control. It's making everybody stay home. Our interaction with each other has been stopped, which is really crazy because people need interaction. You know, I want to talk about why the skulls are here. I know they're coming about, they're being found at a certain time. Um, the vibration of each skull I know has a lot to do with when it is found. Can you talk about their help to humanity, what they're doing to help humanity, I guess?
1 second here.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'm so glad you're with us today, Joshua.
Thank you. I tend to talk fast and then, getting older, your voice goes.
Oh, you're
Okay,
fine.
so here's my understanding of the role that the crystal skulls are playing, which has been communicated from the consciousness that
Okay.
works through it to me. And also soul memory from, skulls being used in other periods of time like Atlantis, Lemuria, and so on.
Right.
Okay, so right now, what I see them, and I'm looking at Portal to see if he's agreeing with me on this, is that they're just like this COVID is a catalyst for waking us up. The skulls are a catalyst for awakening divine, our divine aspects. Who we
Mhm.
really are, our immortal souls. That we're children of Creator and so on.
Mhm.
So they're a catalyst because they have these amazing energies and frequencies around them that interact with our energy and it kind of brings out our gifts and our creativity. It also is a great healing tool. So it means, like, if you have some blocks or emotional blocks, mental blocks, bad health or things like that, it may bring it to a head. So
Wow.
sometimes people say, I don't like being around them, because they're mirroring back the truth of what's going on with the person, and they may not
Ah,
be ready to look at it.
I
So
see.
I just see them as, one of many tools that we have for awakening us to our divine essence.
Hmm.
But as far as for peace, I mean, we've done so many world peace meditations with people all over the world who had crystal skulls. Actually, it's interesting when I think back to how that began. Uri Geller interviewed me a long time ago, and what was interesting during the interview, as soon as we talked about crystal skulls, there were two broadcasts that were going on, a radio broadcast and an internet. The internet immediately shut down, and
Whoa.
only the radio broadcast did that. So I don't know if that was Portal de Luz, because he did that when I was in Las Vegas too. They had a internet audio broadcast and a radio broadcast, and he shut down the internet broadcast. Now
Interesting.
that hasn't happened since then. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's behaving now. But the idea was with Uri Geller is, he said, how could the crystal skulls help with peace? And I hadn't really thought about that question. And then I heard, well, we could do meditation with all the guardians all over the world. So
Wow.
we've actually done that for, I don't know how many years. I think at least 8 or 9 years.
What if someone wants to get involved in that? How do they find out about it?
Well, we stopped those meditations,
Oh,
although uh, just yesterday, prior to this interview, an old friend who has a crystal skull called Infinity, and
okay.
actually we tried to do it today before this interview, where
Ah,
she wants to start them up again. So I'm not sure
yes.
what form it takes. So the best thing for people, if you want to participate, and you don't have to have a crystal skull, you can have any kind of gemstone that you work with, is
Right.
just, again, email me, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. And
Okay.
if this new series of meditations happen, then I can let the people know.
Okay. You do
Okay,
like an email blast or like a newsletter that you can tell people.
exactly.
Okay, cool. And I'm really excited that you're doing this work. And I feel like intuitively, what I felt like when I was reading this book, I felt like these skulls came to you because you are their protector. It's like you're the person that they knew would take care of them. I just picked that up. How many do you have now? You call them your children. I'm picking that up, that they are your children and that you take care of them very well.
Well, I wouldn't say I take care of them very well. I would say, thank God there's Katrina, and being Capricorn, and she's the mama. And so she does a great job of taking care of the skulls.
You're the
Because,
protector.
well, I may be the protector, and I'm their spokesperson. I feel like, so people
Yeah.
understand them better. But
Yeah. How
when
many do you have, Joshua? How many do
I
you
think
have?
we have about 30, 25
Wow.
to 30
The
skulls.
energy there must be just incredible. Because, I don't know, because I go into a rock shop and the energy is just overwhelming. Do you have people come and say the energy is overwhelming to them, or?
Well, unfortunately, we usually don't have many visitors, but
Okay.
when we were going out and like doing our sessions,
Right.
some people said in the session, even before I got into the center, I could already feel the energy.
Right.
But the problem for us is they're around us, and I talked to the guardian of the Mitchell Hedges skull, and it's the same for him. You just integrate it so you don't
Right.
feel it. So
Right.
it's just like, he calls it normal stuff. I would say it's just normal. Um,
Okay.
and plus, the other thing you have to understand is they're not always like beaming energy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're very quiet,
Okay.
and they realize that they cannot beam that high energy. Otherwise, we can't function and do normal Earth things.
Right. It would be difficult for us. Wow,
Right.
that's true. Hey, listen, we got to go to commercial break again, but when we come back, I have lots more questions for you. And I want to talk about what's going to happen. You have a paper here, and I pulled it out, and you talk about what's going to happen in 2037 and 2040. So when we come back, let's talk about that. This is Nancy Earl. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Joshua Shapiro. I'm going to hold up his book here. It's Journeys of the Crystal Skull Explorers. What great information you're giving us. I want you to talk to us. You sent me this really cool PDF, and you're talking about what's going to happen in 2037. Where did this information, tell the audience where this information came from, and can you talk about this a little bit for us?
Yes, of course. So sometime between 1996 and the early part of 1997, I was in Brazil.
Okay.
For those people who don't know about Brazil, it has very high spiritual energy. I remember when I was there, it's like all my gifts get elevated, it's like you're turned on all the time. So anyway, I remember I was sitting at my computer, and I guess my future self in this lifetime, whose name will be Argus, or my name will be changed to Argus, he starts writing through me. And I just was like looking at a vision of the future, and I put it into one of my stories, Crystal Skull Chronicles. But it was during this period of time that this information came through. And then I remember when I looked back at it, I go, that's not me writing. Some other aspect of me is writing through.
Right.
And so this future self was saying, I can't explain to you how you become who I will become, because then I can't become that person if you know everything.
Right.
But I can show you the future so that you understand, when you're doing your light work, and when you're doing things for peace, and to help the planet, or to help other people to understand their spiritual work, that you see where we're headed and
You see
where
the
I
outcome.
am.
Yeah, you see the outcome.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I highlighted here, and let me just stop you a second. It says, such concepts of jealousy and ownership are unheard of, as of all children are love and joy, and we all feel a responsibility to help and support each one, as no child is more special than another. If a child comes through a natural mother or father, the actual parents initially help this child come into the world, but these small dear ones receive total support from their community for their spiritual growth and education. And then you say, thus, no child ever fears alone or abandonment. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, so basically all the adults become the parents to all the children.
Right.
And this is and this must be what it's like on the the worlds of the galactics, not I call them galactics, where they're totally integrated with their spiritual part. It's like you go outside and there's just joy and
Right.
happiness, and as a result of the joy or happiness, like I had another vision of this time where people are dancing in the street and nobody's thinking it's crazy, and they're
Right.
just celebrating that joy. And I've actually had that happen to me a few times, where there's certain music that I resonate so much with, I have tears coming out of my eyes.
Oh, wow.
And I have to move my body, I have to express that joy. So
Right.
that's the world of the future I see, is everywhere you look will be joy. And then this guy over here who's talking to me said, remember that time where you got the message where there will come a day where you won't be able to tell the difference between being in spirit and being on the earth.
Oh, wow.
That's what I think it's going to be like, is that, we will have all of our gifts, we'll be hugging everyone, all these challenges we have now, for
Will be
the
gone.
children of the future, they will have no concept whatsoever. You lived that way? I can't even imagine that. How
Right.
somebody would be wanting revenge on someone else, like example, or
Right.
people fighting with each other. How
Right.
is that possible? And
Right.
that's how the future will be. Of course, the galactics will be walking amongst us also, so we can ask them questions and say, is it possible I could visit your world? Like I did that with mediums. I've talked with mediums and talked to the galactics that way as well. And I
Right.
asked the Pleiadians, could I go in my physical body and visit your world? No, I'm sorry, you can't. There's no water there. You would suffer
Oh,
tremendously. We would have to take you in your light body if
I
you want to
see.
go.
I see. What year do you see this finally happening? You said a little earlier.
Well, Argus talks about 2037 to 2040.
Okay.
And, so as this pandemic has come up, I just asked Spirit, I say, I want to know everything. I want to know the positive and the negative.
Right.
Because essentially what's happening now is all the truth is coming out, both the good and the bad.
Right.
So now
2020. Right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like 2020 is the year that this process that's going to take us to 2037 is going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going to take a while, because you have to understand, like, for example, I was listening recently to a whistleblower about UFOs who worked with the Galactics on the advanced technologies that they have. And when those advanced technologies start coming out, which he said they're going to,
Right.
everything will be different. Free energy, teleportation, going to other planets, having galactics walk amongst us,
How
the
cool,
med
huh?
beds they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like all these things that are challenging us now, they're gone, they're done.
Right. Right. I think it's wonderful. I think it's really exciting. You also say in here, each citizen of the new earth, you call it the new earth, offers to our world and their local communities exactly what they love to do. So people will finally do what's in their heart to do. I thought that was really interesting too, because that's what we should be doing.
And you see, if that happens, every job will be taken care of.
Right.
Whereas I don't like gardening, but Katrina loves gardening. Okay,
Right. Right.
or I'm not good at taking care of young children, but there are people who love to take care of young children,
Mm.
or the elderly. But then in the future, the elderly become the elders. You listen to what the elders have to share with you.
Which is how it should be, actually. I grew up like that.
Right, except the elders may look very young.
Ah.
They may look like in their 30s and 40s, even though they may be over 100 years old.
So the aging process will be different.
Well, that's what they're saying the med beds will do, is they will rejuvenate the whole body and you will look younger.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So what's the most interesting thing that you've gotten from the skulls about the COVID-19? Has it been that it's a good time for us to sit at home and wake up and go within?
Yes, also to learn not to come from fear, and and also the other thing is the light workers are being called
Mhm,
right now to
mhm.
start to share the truth,
Right.
and the truth does not agree with the stories being told by the major media.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
so now the problem with this is even with our light work family, like if I start talking about what I believe is the truth, I will have members of the light work family attack me. They'll
Right.
go, "You're insane. How could you say this? What are you talking about?" And so,
Yeah, but we have to speak up. Don't you agree, Joshua? I mean, I think if we have to be the strong ones and we have to be the ones that wake, they say, hey, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Just like we're talking about today. Don't you agree?
yes, but this is what I say to people. I agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Instead of blowing me out of the water and attacking me, let's just agree to disagree. I
Okay.
honor where you are, because every reality that every person sees is true
Right.
to a
Right.
degree, because they have to go through the experience of that. And
Right.
so the other aspect that I think for the light workers is when all these changes start happening, when the galactics reveal themselves, when the new technology comes out, when the truth comes out about what's really going on and what is our true history, people are going to be upset, confused. They're not going to believe it. The light workers are the ones who have to step forward and say, look, let's come from a state of peace and calm. Let's
Right.
look at this. I'm here to help and support you. I fully understand what's going on. I'm not in shock. The greatest thing that happened to me was when I saw the Mitchell-Edges skull during the time when the Indiana Jones film was coming out, and I
Right.
was being interviewed all over the place, and I
Mhm.
had a chance to see the skull, and it changed me. It changed my energy to come from being in the neutral. So in other words,
Yeah, I read that in your book. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, talk about
right. So
that.
what the neutral means is I may not agree with everybody, like I
Right.
believe I know who really needs to be the president. I won't say this because, go, oh, we don't like Joshua anymore because he's supporting this person or that person.
Right. Right.
But the thing is that you just have to let people be who they are. You can say, here's my understanding. What's your understanding? Okay, this part we agree. This part we don't agree. Great. You got to follow what works for you. So
Right.
that's the key, and
Well,
that's being neutral.
we all learn at different times. Like we're all not at the same level. We're all starting to learn and experience and wake up at different times. So some people have been awake for a while and some people are just waking up. And so that's where I come in with where you can't really judge somebody else's journey because they have to go through it to get to the point where they can wake up too and the consciousness is raised. That's what I believe.
Right. And also too, we don't know what the truth is for the other person or what's
Right.
the best. So all we can do is say, I'm your brother, I'm your sister. Here's what's worked for me. Here's some advice. Decide for yourself. Is it good? Is it not good?
Right.
Because that's what I'm constantly doing is I meet different people. Each person is going to share their truth. Oh, that piece there. I like that. How could I work with that? You know,
Right.
and that gets me excited. I never thought about that. Like when I
Right.
listened to this whistleblower talking about the new technology, it blew my mind what he was talking about. And if that comes into the world, I got to totally change my way of looking at life when those technologies are here.
Right. It changes your perception. Yeah. Really quick, I want to talk a little bit about getting your own crystal skull. If somebody really wants to get one or feels called to go get one, what do you suggest they do, or how do they go about it?
Well, you can go on eBay. There's all kinds of crystal skulls there, but
Okay.
I would suggest
Yes.
um, what we're working on right now is two lines of crystal skulls, excuse
Right.
me, which are based on the form of two of our personal skulls. So like if
Oh.
you get our free Crystal Skull ebook, both of them are in there. One is called Geronimo Golden Eagle Eye, which is our indigenous skull. So we
Okay.
have a carver in India now who's making Geronimo Juniors. And
Oh,
we've had
nice.
like several different stones made. And I'm working very hard to get this webpage up so people can see what these skulls look like and if they'd
Okay.
like to get one. And then
Okay.
we have what we call King Leilani, which is an ET looking skull
Mm-hmm.
that's been very popular. Starbeam skull is what some people call. So I'm
Right.
working on getting that line available. And the other thing is that what we've been doing is activating and charging the skulls for people too.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the problem is you can buy a crystal skull,
Right.
but you have no idea who created it, where did it come from, what energies has it been exposed to.
Right.
So,
So they can send it to you and you can activate it and then you send it back. That's wonderful.
right.
Hey, we're
Yeah.
going to commercial break right now. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Joshua Shapiro. His book, you got to check this out, you guys. It's called Journey of the Crystal Skull Explorers. We're giving away 3 ebooks. If you want to email Joshua, give your email address again.
crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com.
All right. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Joshua Shapiro. We're talking about crystal skulls. Joshua, talk about, I collect rocks. I'm a big rock person. I'm sitting here and I've got a bunch of selenite that I put around my computer and I've got my crystals, everything else sitting here. I even wore my Austrian crystal bracelet today because I knew you were going to be on. And I have my little, pendulum that I use all the time. So, does it make a difference? I guess my biggest question, does it make a difference what type of crystal the skulls are made out of and how do they vary according to what they're made of? Does that make a difference?
Well, again, everybody has a unique energy and vibration.
Right,
So I've watched, like for example, I'm very much into the quartz skulls,
right,
and obsidian is another stone that I resonate with. But when I see some of the other crystal skulls that are made of other gemstones, I don't have that strong feeling with them. But that doesn't mean that they're not special.
right.
Example I'll give you is there was a conference that we helped to organize in Holland about 14, 15 years ago, where
Okay.
we had a whole bunch of people bringing crystal skulls, but then we had jade skulls that were there that were very old, including a jade skeleton,
Oh, neat.
which came out of China or Mongolia or something like that.
Okay.
And their energies did not mix well. Now, it didn't
Oh,
mean that the jade skulls were negative. It's just they weren't compatible.
how
Okay.
interesting.
So what I would say to a person is, like for example, with the Geronimos we're making, so far we've done smoky quartz, clear quartz, milky quartz, a rose quartz, which hasn't been claimed yet. We have a white aventurine that's coming out, and 2 obsidian skulls. Now, different people are going to be drawn to different type of gemstones. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't see one is better than another. It's which one vibrates for you. And a
Right,
person will know this. I
right.
mean, like the same thing happened. There was someone who came to see the Mitchell Hedges skull and didn't feel a strong affinity for that one, which is the one I have the strongest affinity for. But
Right.
then came to my lecture showing me, oh, I love that skull, amethyst, it's so great. So it's
Oh, wow.
it's a personal
It's
thing.
a personal thing.
And
How
you got to
interesting.
experiment with the energy of the stones to find out which one works for you the best.
Right. Now, do you hold the skull in your hands when you work with it, or do you just set it next to you?
Yes, yes, and no. So
Okay.
in other words, what I'm saying is sometimes I feel to hold it. Sometimes it's better if it's close by. And sometimes he doesn't even have to be anywhere near me and I'm talking with him.
Right.
So, it just depends upon what relationship that you've created. And again, what's comfortable.
Right, right. One thing I wrote down, I jotted down that was in your book that I thought was really interesting. You say there is a symbolic relationship between the crystal skulls and humanity. We are all we are all here and mean to work together in the near future. And I think that's really cool. How do you think they'll work with us in the near future?
Well, like I said before, for right now, they're activating our gifts and empowering us. And I think they'll be used more in the future in ceremony. Like
Ah,
I know there's already groups of people who say, some of the pyramids in Mexico and Central America by the Mesoamerican people are not active. So they go and they do a ceremony with crystal skulls
okay.
and start to bring the energies up again. So I think they're going to be used more in ceremony for world peace and
So it brings the energy in. So when the crystal skulls come in, because I'm really big on energy, then it changes the energy, like in the room, for example. So if there's an important meeting and you would bring the crystal skulls into it, then it would change the vibration and things would be maybe more harmonious, for example.
yes, I would say that, or I would give
Okay.
my crop circle experience as an example of how the skulls can change the energy.
Okay.
So Portal de Luz was saying to me, Dad, he calls me Dad, we got to go visit the crop circles in England. Okay,
Okay.
so I don't remember 2004, 2005. I started taking him with the crop circles, but then I wanted to see if the crystal skulls could make a difference in the energy. So I
Hmm.
got together with David Kingston, who unfortunately passed away, but he was an amazing person. He was a great researcher in crop circles. So we went to one that looked like a yin yang pattern. And I
Right.
had Portal de Luz, and I said, Portal de Luz wants me to meditate near the center of the crop circle to his favorite music, which is Pachelbel's Canon in D. So we didn't have an MP3 player. I put on my CD, portable CD, listening to the music. And immediately by the center of the crop circle where I'm sitting, I felt like a cone of energy come around me, like I
Whoa.
was in a different world with him. We were
Right.
meditating. Then halfway through, I felt like I had to sing. This song doesn't have words, so I was humming or whatever. I thought I was doing it in perfect harmony. When I came out, people said, "What song were you singing to?" So apparently, I wasn't doing it to that song. And then what we had done prior to the meditation is we measured the electromagnetic energy at the center of the crop circle was zero Portal de Luz. I could actually see inside of him showing me why there was this electromagnetic energy going up and down very fast. So it
Okay.
was negating itself.
Okay.
And then after the meditation, we put him into the center of the circle and then the measurement with the scale. So somehow doing the meditation with music and whoever the beings were that were there who put the cone around me, we were able to shift the energy of the crop circle, and we did it again another time with a different researcher
So
meditating with the skull.
So they're here and they're set strategically around the world to shift the energy here on Earth. And that's why they're being found at different times. Now, are they still being found, Joshua?
Oh yeah, we keep hearing from many people all the time. New skull never heard about that either their family has held secretly for a long time or was
Right,
found in the ground, especially in Mexico. They
right.
tell me we kick the ground and a new skull comes popping out. So they
Wow,
still come popping out.
wow.
Um, in Crystal Skull Chronicles, which I haven't released that in a book form yet,
Hmm.
and I need to, or it's going to get made into movie, one or the other.
Hmm.
All this 13 skulls come together at the end of the story. And what they do is they shift the vibrational frequency of the planet so that, all the hate and the greed and all the negativity we have here in one moment shifts. Like I say in the story, they're fighting in the Middle East, the Arab and the Israeli, and all of a sudden they wake up and they go, my brother, and they hug each other and they're no
Right,
longer fighting. So
right.
I think that the skulls coming together in a certain group at a certain time, that that could be the catalyst that helps to shift the
When it
vibrational
shifts.
frequency from 3D to 5D.
Do you see that happening, or do you have an indication of when? Like, does it have to get worse before it's going to get better? Because I keep thinking that it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I do see it getting better, like you.
Well, I think right now there's a war going on between the forces of light and dark,
Right.
which is not being reported in the news, but
Correct.
different people are sharing videos and things like on YouTube or on the website. So yeah, that's right. Okay, so the key is, according to what I just heard, he reminded me,
Okay.
is that collectively,
Okay.
we are not quite there yet, because I feel like the shift, like in my story, it's going to happen instantaneously. It's like one moment we still have good versus or dark versus light, and the next minute, all of a sudden, there's this elevation.
Right.
So I don't think we're there yet because not all the people on the planet are there yet.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that could happen is that the Earth going into the higher frequencies, which it must, because it's the entire solar system is going into this higher frequency, and the Earth cannot hold it back, is the slow learning souls. There is another Earth being prepared for them, so the lessons of duality can be continued there.
Oh, no
because
kidding.
when you get to this higher level of spirituality, you don't see duality anymore.
Right. What
So
can we
that's
do?
part of my vision. Go ahead.
Right. No, what can we do? What can you tell the audience, or what can we help people? How can we help people get to this higher consciousness? I mean, I'm doing the show and we're talking about it, and we're talking about a higher power, and we're talking about, no judgment and that type of thing. What can you tell people that they can do?
Well, the key we have to understand, again, you have to be in the neutral. So all you can do is send the love in your heart, the spiritual heart, do the meditations, visualize peace, visualize this future. Okay. And when you talk to people, even if they don't agree, even if they attack you, send them love, just give a positive message and say, okay, you may not agree. Well, think about it. Maybe at some future time, it'll make more sense to you. Don't be offended. This is the trap, is you get into where you're supposed to argue. No, it's going to be this way. No, it's going to be this way.
Yeah, walk away from that. Okay.
Just say, I love you. I honor you. We agreed to disagree. That's the easiest thing. And I'm doing that on Facebook too, as I'm posting these Aries challenging messages. I'm saying, if you don't agree, let's agree to disagree. We don't have to become enemies. We can just say, I have my perspective, you have yours. Let's honor it. So
that brings around peace. That brings about peace, though, what you're saying.
Right. And be an example.
Yes.
Be an example of the light. So in other words, if somebody comes at you with anger, don't anger back. Just say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm okay where I'm at, and I honor where you're at.
I agree.
And that's very hard to do, because we have been brought up in this world that we're supposed to argue and fight. And that's because the cabal and the elite have programmed that into everything. And now we are seeing, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And all these people are protesting everywhere because they're tired of this.
I think it's wonderful. And I think it is exciting, actually, that people are starting to wake up. And I think it's an exciting time to be here on Earth to see this happen. Joshua, we're out of time, but gosh, thank you so much for coming to see me on High Road. I'm going to have you back because I have more questions for you. Will you come back and see me again?
Yes, anytime.
You're wonderful.
As many times as you like. I have a ton more to share. I never at an end.
Oh, God bless you. Hey, you guys, his book is Journeys of the Crystal Skull Explorers. Tell them your website if they want to find you.
Yeah, so the website is cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. Hopefully next year it'll just be crystalskullexplorers.com. But if you go to cse.crystalskullexplorers.com, you'll find the most current one, or crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on today. I truly appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Hey, you guys, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.